Okay, Count, the treatment of 1,400 Debenhams workers by Debenhams, a very large company that continues to make profits in this country online through online sales, and continues to operate in the north of this country, and continues to operate and make money in Britain, it has been nothing short of despicable. Hearing the descriptions of the workers about how essentially they were tricked by the company, using the cover of the COVID-19 pandemic to suggest that various things they were doing in terms of stock taking in the stores and movements of goods and so on were related to COVID, and actually had nothing to do with COVID, but were to do with a tactical liquidation, using the cover of the COVID-19 pandemic to essentially dump these 1,400 workers, many of whom, most of whom, had worked for the company for decades. These workers had given loyal service in Debenhams stores all across the country, and they were dumped in the most cynical way. And I should have said I formally move our motion in this regard. Sorry, Count Corla. Because what our motion seeks is the justice that should have been given to these workers had previous governments acted on foot of similar situations that have happened in this country over recent years. The most recent was the Cleary's situation, where you had a similar liquidation process and those workers were dumped. But prior to that, we had Licenza, we had Vita Cortex, we had Thomas Cook, just to name the ones I'm familiar with. There's probably others people can remind me of. Time and time again, companies have treated, particularly it seems in the retail sector, department stores, treated retail workers in this absolutely outrageous way. And a report after the Cleary's dispute, a report was produced, the Duffy-Cahill report, which suggested that there should be a reordering of the priority of creditors in cases of liquidation in order to ensure that workers could not be treated in this way, that they would become priority creditors when it came to the liquidation of assets, that companies would not be allowed run away with assets, or that other people would take priority over the workers who actually generated the wealth and built that company and built its wealth, as the Debenhams workers have done over many years. Successive governments failed to do that. 5 years on after the Cleary's dispute, it was not done, and so the Debenhams workers find themselves in the situation that they are in. And the cynicism of Debenhams goes on, in that clearly this was orchestrated well in advance even of COVID-19, such that a company that has very significant assets, and you don't have to know what's in the stores all over the country to know this is a company that has tens of millions of assets. It also has this online business, but essentially they tried to take those assets off the balance sheet by making Debenhams Ireland co-guarantors on a €200 million debt that was taken out by Debenhams UK, effectively wiping all the assets off. But this is just an accountancy manoeuvre deliberately designed to lay the ground for the liquidation and for leaving the workers with nothing. Quite rightly, the workers have not accepted this. There's no doubt Debenhams hoped that workers would be shell-shocked, demoralised, and in the context of the pandemic would just take this lying down. To their eternal credit, this inspiring group of workers, mostly women workers, have stood up and fought for their rights and refused to be treated in this despicable way. They are now in their 104th day of protest. They are mounting at Henry Street and other stores round the clock pickets to prevent the liquidators, KPMG, from moving in and taking those assets when those assets should be liquidated to the benefit of the workers. Now, the Taoiseach said that he had great sympathy for the workers. He accepted, when I and others raised this over the last number of weeks, said they had great sympathy, that the treatment of the Debenhams workers was disgraceful, that he would look at the issue of legislation going forward, but that there was nothing really he could do, was the implication for this particular group of workers. We are putting forward in this motion a proposal of something concrete that can be done. Something that really arose out of a meeting between the workers and the liquidator, where it became clear that the government is the preferential shareholders, the priority shareholder. Therefore, the government can waive its priority and instruct KPMG to give a better redundancy deal to the workers, the 2+2 that they've asked for, and make sure that they are the top priority in the liquidation of the assets. So that's what we're asking. So we don't want tea and the workers do not want tea and sympathy. They want tangible action to give them the justice they deserve, and of course the legislation to ensure similar events do not happen in the future to other groups of workers. The workers are marching up here, I think, later this evening. They weren't aware of the change in time. But if we want to send a message of solidarity and hope to those workers, the government should accept this motion, drop their own amendment, which some of our other speakers will speak about.